So the one question I was like wondering about the most, maybe a bit of a generic question, but if you had a 20-year-old son, or you could talk to your 20-year-old self again, what kind of advice would you give, do you think? What would be the main thing? There's probably a lot of things, but like the most important.
Probably focus on yourself. I know we're in a world that there's a lot of distractions and a lot of ways to take you off what your life purpose is. Being at that age, normally we don't really know what we want to do.
That's true.
If you can find your interest early and pursue that, I recommend that. I think that the hard part is finding things that you like to do but also get paid.
That's true.
And because usually the things you like to do, the pay doesn't come with it.
Yeah.
But if you can find that happy balance.
Do you believe it like that everybody has a special purpose in a way? Everybody has a way for them, or because a lot of people talk about you have to find your thing. Do you think everybody has like a specific thing, or?
I do. I feel that everyone provides something different in the world.
That's true.
Kind of like how you and I met. Come from different backgrounds, but yet we still share a common theme. Being someone like your age, where you're younger, I think starting physical fitness is a big thing. Getting
it's like the foundation, I would say, in a way.
Correct. Getting as best shape as you can.
Also teaches you a lot about discipline.
Discipline's a huge thing. I think that if you can wake up early, have a good diet, have a good belief system, and what I mean is like having faith in something that leads you toward a greater purpose other than yourself. I know people have different views on spirituality. I think, however, there is one general truth that I feel like we all believe in.
It's so funny because I experienced myself, like the more I think about myself, I actually just made a video recently about it. The more it's all about me, about my success, about my ego, about me like succeeding, the less happy I feel, the more like self-conscious I get, the more anxious thoughts like these. But if I'm just like, how do I make a good video so someone will get help by it? Well, it's much more wholesome and organic, and I'm more natural. And
I feel like, kind of like with social media, is that you're always being given information of people who what we think is more successful than what we are. They may look better, they may be richer, they may have more possessions, and we use that to kind of criticize ourselves.
Compare.
Yes, and I think, however, even though people like that, they may look more successful on the outside, they're a lot more empty on the inside than people understand.
It's funny, like the drive to pursue and attain that much is probably like motivated by a strong sense of like not being good enough in a way also.
Correct.
Like insecurity.
Correct.
In a lot of instances, I guess.
And the one thing I learned is, as I gotten older, is that everyone has their time. A lot of people think that once they hit a certain age that they need to be successful in these set ways. Like they need to have X amount of money, they need to have this type of woman, they need to have, this type of place where they live. Reality hits people different. Everyone has different experiences.
But it's difficult, like because there's a balancing act, because you want to be ambitious, you want to have success. It's not like it's just empty, but you also want to be grateful and present and have a higher purpose. So like, how do you reconcile those things? I find it so difficult myself.
I think finding a good support system. I think that's one of the most crucial things, especially in this day and age where we tend to try to focus on ourselves, and we try to always consistently try to beat other people in different ways. But if you can find people who not only share your views, but who can keep lifting you up in different ways, not just having friends that you have good times with, or
go out drinking, different vices and stuff.
Right. Like having a good, consistent gym buddy.
That's fucking.
And the hard part is that
that's worth a lot.
Correct. A lot of people. It's easy to have a friend who will either tell you what you want to hear versus what you need to hear.
Oh, that's so true.
You know, and the hard part is, man, you know, like even just like we'll use the example of going to the gym. You know, there are days where we don't want to go. There's everything in the world we'd rather do than go work out that day. However, if you have that buddy who says, you know what, dude, you need to stop being a bitch. Get your ass
in the fucking gym.
Yeah, correct. And the
but
thing,
it's rare. People won't do that. It's so rare to find.
Well, because
brutal honesty.
Well, it's the honesty and the fact that people. It's so easy to get comfortable. You know, we live in a world where comfort is praised. You know, it's easy to want to relax.
Hedonistic happiness. Yeah.
Correct. You know. But when you have that not just have that person, but if you can have that discipline yourself to really push you through the times where, even though it's the last thing you want to do, and not only does it develop the discipline, but it develops the mental toughness. Because if you can tell yourself that and convince yourself that you can overcome an obstacle, and
that's confidence, man.
Correct. It builds confidence, and like with me, I'm very acclimated to the weather. I feel like the weather dictates my mood a lot of the times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So if it's
like winter depression and stuff, kind of sad in the winter. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, but the one thing I've learned the past few years is that we all like the summertime. We all want to be outside. We all want to enjoy the sun. You know, it's easier for us to be motivated because, you know, the days are nicer. You know, it's easier for us to work out and to look better in the summertime. But wintertime, it's cold. It usually rains. People don't want to be outside. But even like with my life, I've learned that I've become the most disciplined, the most toughest, and I've overcome the most obstacles during the wintertime because that's where the difficulty comes in. You know?
It's like the level rises in the video game, and the ones who can perform there, they can perform. They're the winners. Yeah. So you said earlier that at 21, like at my age, you were like just smoking weed, not really doing that much. So when did it like kind of change? When did you work out at that age, or was it?
I was always
had the working out, huh?
Even though I would smoke a lot of weed in my early 20s, I ingrained the discipline from about 16 years old. I always started consistently working out around 15, 16 because I played a lot of sports. I got into nutrition at an early age.
That's a rabbit hole, man.
and people don't understand that nutrition.
I'm still stuck in the
that is probably one of the biggest disciplining factors a man could actually do.
Yeah, bro, it really is.
So I started doing that from like 16 years old. So that has been my consistent foundation for years.
And it's much easier to build upon that afterwards because it's like building on sand. If you don't work out, no any discipline, any good habits, it's so difficult to build anything additional on top.
Well, and remember, if you're working out and you got buddies who are going out drinking and you know not caring about what they eat or put in their body, it's easy for them to take you off that path. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Hello, just go right ahead.
Go ahead, guys.
No problem, man.
Okay. All right. But no, I think nutrition is one of the biggest things that is probably the most essential especially for men. Because that allows us to perform at our very best.
It really does, and also like all the, to change subject a bit, but all the hormone stuff and all the the crazy shit about men's testosterone falling this much, and diet is like a huge part of that as well. Just like we get so far away from the natural way of living, which is kind of sad.
And good point. And we have. Not only do we have the distractions, but we have things that we consume on a daily basis. Yeah. It's not just the food or the social media. You know, it's the like you mentioned before, the hedonistic. You know, like things like alcohol that destroys your natural testosterone cycles. You know, the vaping. You know, like the
nicotine, all the stuff.
Nicotine.
It's such a scary combination though, because one, we don't have any morals, anyone telling us like to do the hard work to actually be disciplined, and then two, we have all these vices.
Correct.
So it's like the most evil cocktail in a way. We got all the bad stuff and no one telling us to pursue the good stuff in a way.
Exactly.
So it's fucking, no matter that it's not that weird that people are struggling.
Well, that and if you actually look at how our fathers were at our age, or even guys like back in like the 40s and 50s, they, your average 18-year-old looked like a full-on man.
Yeah, bro.
You know,
Yeah.
I've seen, I can't tell you how many times I've seen these younger kids in this generation where, in a way, it's good that they start working out and developing physical discipline and stuff like that, and they develop their bodies in a good way. I will admit that.
Yeah.
But their mind has been programmed to always want to take the lazy way out.
Yeah.
I think patience is one of the biggest virtues that,
especially in this age, man. Yeah.
that gets overlooked.
Yeah, with all the algorithms trying to steal our attention span, and yeah, that's also why like videos like these I want to make, they're more like longer form as well. So it's probably that's a dilemma I struggle with as well, because I want to reach the people who don't have the attention span, but I also don't want to play into the cycle and stuff. So yeah, it's a bit difficult. Yeah.
Well, we also, the times have changed, and that's what kind of is hard for people to adjust, because when you look at the older generation, they're more used to having things play out at a very kind of slow rate, so they develop the patience kind of naturally.
Yeah,
whereas
if there's nothing to do, they'll just look out in the wall.
Exactly. They could look outside in the stars, and they could find happiness there, or do like what we did. We were just going for walks.
Yeah.
That's where that's where we find the peace.
Exactly. And that's real peace. Like, it's not some superficial, like, instant dopamine kind of, and you feel good afterwards as well.
Correct. I think that once you see the results play over time, you start to actually understand how crucial it is to always consistently do that, because it's easy to give in to the short-term pleasures and the short-term attention spans and whatnot, but overall you realize that the older you get,
the more maturity, the more experience. But it takes a while to like realize. I had like an epiphany maybe at age 17, like this shit doesn't work. Like, I was drowning myself in weed, nicotine, alcohol, all these things, and at one point it didn't work anymore.
And it's funny.
And that's the point where you like do the.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I had my epiphany about like 16 when I started really working out and understanding about nutrition and whatnot.
Yeah, that was mine as well. Exactly, it started working out. Yeah.
So, and I think it's not just the physical part where people kind of get confused on, because it's easy to develop the vanity. Where you kind of start to become obsessed with how you look and how much you're lifting, and people think that alone is based off.
Well, okay.
That is based off success. When you see kids trying to complete goals that are technically above what they really should be doing, it develops a level of progression that becomes kind of unrealistic. Like one of the things even I've noticed is that kids in the younger, like kids your age, have already started doing steroids.
That's fucking. That's crazy.
And
because of social media, you should see my Instagram feed when I like load it up, like the recommended thing. The algorithm knows that it gets to me, like seeing these ripped dudes and.
And people need to understand, like, I don't have anything against steroids. It's I think it's okay, if you're in your late 30s, early 40s, when your body starts to
replacement therapy.
Correct.
And that makes sense.
Correct. Yeah, and I think that
if you're like a professional bodybuilder and do the risk reward analysis, I get it more. Yeah.
Yes, but you need to develop that level of natural performance.
It's a shortcut.
It is a shortcut. But people don't understand that if they actually just straight up push themselves and actually develop that mental toughness and that perseverance, that they could go a lot more than they ever thought possible. But again, it's kind of like just what we mentioned before. It's the short-term gratification. Everyone wants that instant fix. That quick, just I want it, I got it, done.
It's funny because I've been wondering for a while what makes the difference between someone who gets it at some point and just, these people, it's like they live their whole lives without ever realizing that they're not living up to their potential in any way. They don't realize that they have purpose, or it's like they're living in autopilot, or they're like stuck in the fog or something. Like they can't see really, and I can't really decipher what it's not. I don't think it's IQ, or I'm not sure what it is.
I think
more
it's
like philosophical question. But
no, it's a great question. I think it's a lot of it comes down to the generations and how they were raised, especially the older generation. They were raised in just to become more mentally tough, to be physically tough, to just be able to grind, for years, and understand
that was admirable back then.
It's very admirable.
It was the thing to do. Yeah.
Correct. But now, it's almost seen as a form of I wouldn't even call it weakness, but people just don't want to work hard anymore because
they're seen as toxically masculine or some shit like.
Correct.
Oh, he's a workaholic. Oh yeah, but they always forget like, why do you think he works? For the people he loves, to be a provider to, you know, in some aspects. Some do it for the ego, yeah. But.
Sure, and I think with especially like men your age, where ego is kind of, you really start to form your own, and it's like you're molding your character into really who you want it to be. Yeah. People develop at different ages though. You know, like my ego really didn't really hit until like my early 30s. You know, and it was more just the fact that like I started seeing how my consistency over the years carried me, whereas other people let themselves go, or they just gave up.
Pushed around by the wind,
Yeah, and it's so disheartening to see how you see the potential in people,
in everybody,
and to see them give in to such shallow things, or to just give up on what their natural purpose was in life, you know. And this is where I feel like going back to, you know, faith. I think that, you know, we were. Go ahead.
No problem. No problem.
Yeah. We were created for a reason. You know, if you look at just the simple fact of how men and women are biologically created. You know, men have very strong muscular bodies. Women have very soft feminine bodies. You know, men were created to work. You know, women were created to nurture. So the fact that men don't want to embrace their divine role, that's the part that kills me. The fact that
it's so fucking sad, man.
And you see the people who truly have become successful over time, like not just through physical feats, you know, not just like the stories of like David and Goliath, or you know.
But integrity and honor and like morals as well,
Yes, and the problem is, you know, it's not the fact that you're always going to just have that epiphany moment where you just understand everything just one day. I think one of the biggest things I could say to the younger generation, that enlightenment is not how you're perceived, like how like, you know, the Buddha sitting under a tree and he just all of a sudden realizes everything is peaceful. Enlightenment is a very double-edged sword, because
it's being right fucking here.
Correct.
Feeling all the shit as well.
Yes, you see the good and the bad, but it's up to you to determine which road you take. You know, and I'll be honest, there's been people that have encouraged me, you know, where like I've had help. You know, no one can do this on their own.
Bro, it's tough.
You know, but if you really try to find people who not just resonate with you, but people who can, who you could genuinely look up to, you know, like people who have been financially successful or physically disciplined, or developed that spiritual and mental strength that have carried them, and they're still just going. You know, I've met 80-year-old guys like at the gym who are still running like 10Ks, and you kind of think to yourself, like, how is that even possible? But the people need to understand that the human body is so unbelievably hardwired. And we're
so adaptable as well.
Correct.
Yeah, we're adaptable machines. Like,
well, and one of the biggest things I've learned is that the older you get, you know, people think that, you know, because your body kind of starts to shut down and you know, you start to get weaker over time.
Out of your prime,
Correct, and yes, that is obviously true to an extent. However, I was told one time, because there was a guy at my gym who was like in his 60s, and he was in the best shape I've ever seen in my life. Wow. And I asked him, I was like, what's your secret, man? Seriously, like how do you stay so disciplined? Even when I was in my prime, I was like, how do you stay so disciplined and you look amazing and you just have that consistency? And he told me, he's like, just don't stop. He said that I've seen
it's all momentum.
Yes, he's like, I've seen people come and go over the years, but the reason they say that, oh, you know, well, when you get to my age, or you're not gonna be able to do this really when you get older, he said they're full. He said they're full of shit. He said that they just quit, they made excuses, and they gave up. And I think that is one of the biggest factors. If I could leave you with anything, is just keep the consistency, because like you said, momentum. And you'll realize that momentum is not just about, you know, physically exercising or eating clean or staying spiritual, but it also goes into temptations. You know, you're going to be tempted to things that will take you off your path, and the one thing you will learn is that you will lose friends, you will lose family, but the ones who are truly meant to stay in your life will stay, and you'll know who the real ones are based off the fact that you stayed consistent.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, because that's such a difficulty for myself personally, with like friends who went on the self-improvement path, where it was most hedonistic, going out drinking, having fun, but they weren't really going to the gym, they didn't have any ambitions, I didn't really admire them, let's say, and I saw that their trajectory was not the same as mine, not the one I wanted.
No.
So it's like, do you choose, maybe if that's the only people around, especially now in high school, because like 95% or something of people are just stuck in their phones, like no good habits, no anything. So it's so difficult, I think, for people who actually want to get down this path to find other people to share it with, which is so important.
And it's funny you mention that, because, you know, we live in a world where we literally have the information of the world at our fingertips.
Yeah.
Where if we want to know a question about anything you could ever think of, it's there.
Yeah.
You know, but yet you notice how people are genuinely less intelligent than ever.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
people,
scary.
yeah, and people, like, you would think that because you have all this information,
Be superhumans.
you would have like more than Einstein level IQs. Right?
The strength of Arnold and stuff.
Correct, right?
And we're just this floppy fucking unintelligent.
But it's such a double-edged paradox, because, you know, look at how, you know, we would see guys like in biblical times, you know, right? That, you know, they didn't have information or anything, but yet they were just simple farmers.
Yeah.
You know, and they only were able to do X, Y, and Z, but yet they were able to find information that we still can't find today. How the Greeks, you know, thousands of years ago, were just some dudes building stuff in, you know, in sand, and, you know, building.
More wise than us.
But yet they were finding secrets in the stars.
Yeah.
You know, and they were having.
We're the ones studying them now. Yeah. They're the ones who, But how do you think you balance also with, like I said, women and friends, because you want to be social as well, and especially with women, I find it difficult. Maybe if we could take it there, because I want to be able to attract women. I want to be able to be good at talking with women, having the confidence, getting experience as well, because I know women like men who have some experience.
Sure.
But like, how do you balance that with the temptation and not being too degenerate? It's like you have to walk on a very fucking narrow path.
So people don't understand that, you know, you see the guys like the Chads, right?
Yeah.
You know, the bad boys and whatnot, who it seems like they just naturally had it. You know, they didn't really have to work for it, who were always just good with women, or they just always had a good body.
Yeah.
And sure, genetics play a role.
Couple aces, yeah.
Yes, but people don't understand that confidence is built over time.
Yeah.
You know, you're not just always going to have that. And I think with things like the women example, you know, it's in our DNA to want to find a companion.
Of course.
You know, we want to find someone who we can genuinely love, protect, and provide.
Yeah.
You know, and the hard part is that we are told, especially not just in our generation, but our parents' generation, that, you know, that we need to be a good man. You know, we need to be nice to women. You know, we need to love them, to give them gifts and all this stuff. And yes, that is true. But the older you get, you realize that you have been lied to, you know, and what I find kind of sad is that men over time, I feel, find the same result, but in different ways. They, you know, through just long-term relationships, through divorces, through, you know, the kids getting taken away because women have, you know, used them or just been toxic and have destroyed men's lives, you know, because they were told to do this for women, but women respond in a completely different way. You know,
That's so sad.
Yeah, you know, because we're told to be the nice guy, right? You know, but the thing is, women say they want the nice guy, right? But if you, over time, you realize, not just through yourself, but through other men's trials and experiences, that women don't want what they say they want. All right.
But that's difficult. So would you recommend guys to be the douchebag like Chad looking who just goes around, fucks a bunch of chicks? Or
Now, as a man, obviously we want that. That is our ego
biological
saying,
desire.
correct. I unfortunately, based off my faith, I can't advocate for that.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Look, even I have my temptations too. And he knows. Even just being here in Poland, right?
Yeah. Nice.
But however, it's I think the biggest thing I've learned recently. Like I just came out of a somewhat of a long-term relationship, but I've realized that we want to find peace and validation in being with somebody, because that helps us tell ourselves, hey, this is our purpose. Yeah. Yes, I'm good enough. This is what I do. I have somebody that loves us. But in order for you to truly find peace, you need to actually find it within yourself before you even think about getting with a woman.
Yeah.
I know it's very difficult because we're constantly being bombarded with, a very attractive women everywhere in
social media as well. Pornography, bro.
Pornography.
That's crazy. That's another topic. Yeah.
We could go on for that.
We could go on for hours, man.
Correct. But again, peace itself, everyone finds it at different ages. I was just kind of telling him about it, before we even started this, that I really kind of started to find peace just within the past few months and up to this vacation.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the way you find it is through heartbreak. I think as a man, heartbreak for a man is so much different than with a woman, because in this world, right, everything you see around you has been built by a man. Yeah. Right, the road you drive on, the buildings you live in, the animals that get raised on the farms and stuff like that, are all done by men. Now, I'm not saying there aren't women who have contributed, but a majority, like 98% of it, is men, right? And without that, none of this would exist.
Yeah.
So, and we find that is our natural purpose, is to want to build a society and build a future for everybody.
Yeah. And that's a win-win as well.
It is a win-win.
It's not like it's on behalf of someone or we are fucking someone over in the process. Yeah, but all the men who built all the things were born by women as well. So it's not like, that's the thing.
Well, the problem is in this generation, we live in a world that doesn't even appreciate men. Back in the 50s, men did their role and women understood the importance of a man's role, and they respected it because they knew that in order to find a good man, women had to be a good woman. You couldn't just be a whore on Instagram or TikTok and expect to find a good man who's going to genuinely want to be with you. The hard part is that we are in a world where there is so much more pressure on men than was originally back in our parents' age. We have a lot more pressures to fall under.
We're being led in the fucking wrong direction as well, which makes it more difficult.
Correct.
Yeah. Maybe we should cut it off, man. Talk for a while. Yeah, getting dark. But I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Thank you for doing it.
Absolutely.